days.
Probably.
Yeah, but
Probably.
yeah, you performed just today. It was like, wait, he's wearing 2 dyes. Sorry,
Good job on supporting detail.
so I just want to go over it again, because what they show in the video and what they tell us in the book is a little bit different. So this tells me that you can use a strategy very different. You can modify it a lot just to your needs. So feel free, even in the group, you can do that. So first step, identify text. Yeah,
Done. We found one.
You choose this one. And what you should,
If you open your books.
yeah, you open the books.
Well, we don't have to tell them.
Yeah, the books have
Just let her go through the
chapters.
books.
That's the part about notes.
Here we go.
Then, second, you divide the students into groups. Oh, stop, go back, sorry. Groups. Yeah, perfect, and you told us that a group should have an EL student and a strong English student. So you make heterogene groups. Next, please. You demonstrate the strategy. So that's what he did. He used the first paragraph and then let them work on the other ones. Okay? So what's about the reading? The gist is reading hard text. What do? They read the sentence silently. Then they write. Then they discuss it. And the aim is that they have for the paragraph one sentence that summarizes this, and they discuss the main parts. Yeah, and they compare that. That's the main idea. Okay.
So, one sentence to summarize the whole paragraph, or a lot of key points, because that's what I was confused on about in the video.
Yeah, you can do it like this or that. It's fine. You have to tell the students one thing, of course, but
Okay.
The idea
is open.
that they used in the video was that you start with a bunch of key points, and then the discussion part of it came together where they all discussed the key points and figured out how to put it into one sentence. So you just start with a bunch of ideas and not really a solid sentence, but then in the end it comes together as one.
I can say because we were practicing this strategy, and for me it was hard, and I needed the main points to write out the main points, and then see, oh, that's just detail. And for Jessamine, she's an advanced reader. She had no problem to write a sentence without the main parts. So depends on how strong the students are actually.
And that's why they put different people in groups together. The teachers really intentionally put strong readers with other people. And like she's saying, you could do it a different way. You could, which we're actually going to do it a little differently than he did it. So, but there's a lot of flexibility there, and it really depends on who you've got in your group, I think. But
Yeah, and then you do this. Yeah.
these are just a few things that
Yeah, the other students clarify, like Jessamine was explaining some words for me or things like that. And also I liked about this that it activates the learning very much, and that the comprehension is with peer support. Because I don't know if you like that, but the strong students usually they act like, oh, those are so stupid, I have to explain them everything. But actually you learn a lot when you explain somebody. It's learning for you. So it's not that just the good students explain to the stupid students, but everybody's learning in this process. Just want to emphasize that again, because students don't know. Okay, yeah.
So as our example, we are going to walk you through the first chapter of Chang's Paper Pony. So if everyone can please open up first can you hand out one of those cards to each one of your group members and participate in that role accordingly.
Thank you.
So this kind of chapter, we are going to read all the way up to the end of page 8, and then we stopped and we wrote down some main ideas that we found. And if you can start just kind of following along with it, it says, Chang and Grandpa Lee were peeling potatoes in the kitchen of the Gold Ditch Hotel. Suddenly, Chang stopped. I hear horses, he cried, and ran to the door. If only I had a pony, he told Grandpa Lee, I would never be lonely. Next year, said Grandpa Lee, the miners will bring their families, and you will not be lonely then. But Chang was not sure. He remembered the day he and Grandpa Lee had arrived in San Francisco. He remembered how some boys had thrown stones at them. And so some main points that we picked out of that first little part of chapter 1 was that Chang was lonely, him and his father work in a hotel, or grandfather, sorry, and that Chang wants a pony. So after discussing those main points, we as a group came together and formed a sentence that we felt summarized that beginning of the first part of the
The
chapter.
first chapter, which was, well, we were discussing, our group discussed what we would summarize, and Chang Wants a Pony was the one that, and then we read the next part.
And then you read the next part up until page 10. American children hate us, Chang said. Grandpa Lee shook his head. They do not hate us, he said. They just do not understand us. I would rather have a pony. Then I would have a real pango. A friend, Chang said. Grandpa Lee smiled. You have friends now, he said. There's your teacher, and the barber, and the blacksmith. And don't forget Big Pete. They're all too old to play with, said Chang. But I can play with a pony.
So then we did the same thing. After reading, we came together and made sentences, and then we discussed what we really thought was the main idea of that part. And Chang wants a pony for a friend.
Continue to read. Grandpa Lee pointed at a painting tacked above the stove. That is the only pony that we can afford, he said. Now finish peeling those potatoes. Hungry miners will soon come from a good supper. Chang did as he was told. He also set the tables, brought the water from the well, and carried wood for the stove. All the time, he wished he had a pony.
So then when we discussed, we actually discussed how we would summarize the entire chapter, because we've just read the whole first chapter now. So we kind of looked back over our other summaries and came up with a couple choices. Chang is lonely and wishes he had a pony for a friend, or Chang has to work because they don't have enough money for a pony. So now, well, actually, let's go back. What do you guys, does anyone have any ideas of another sentence, or if one of these sentences is a good summary for that first chapter? Does anyone think that one of those is better than another one?
I have a different one.
Okay, what is yours, Priya?
Chang desperately wants a pony because he's lonely, but Grandpa feels that working is more important. Something like that.
That covers a lot of them.
Maybe the strong reader.
Or Chang is lonely and wants a pony, but they're too poor to get one.
They're too cool.
So those are all wonderful sentences, and not one of them is the right one, and not any of them are wrong. And that just goes to show that please voice your opinion. If you have any ideas, please discuss them with your group members.
And then, so now we're gonna move on to your part of the activity. And you should all have a colored pony person roll. And those colors will and it should be written on there what chapter you have to read. We can't see that, can we?
Okay, so if somebody has a piece of paper, you can just kind of jot this down. Oh, there we go, never mind. Does that help? So if you're in chapter 2, you're going to stop on pages 17 and 20.
And then the end. And then chapters 3 are gonna read to page 32. And yours actually has a little more pictures in it, chapter 3, so you're gonna read to 32 and then to the end of the chapter. So you're only gonna stop twice. And then chapter 4 will stop on page 41, 44, and 50. And chapter 5 will stop at page 53, 59, and 60.
Now remember, each point when you're stopping in your chapter, you're just jotting down a couple key points that you picked up, just so that you're kind of frequently checking in with you and your group members to see what's developing in the plot and in that chapter, so that when you come to the end, you have a lot of ideas to choose from. So during those stops, just write those key points and you don't have to worry about a sentence yet.
You want to take over videotaping?
Silently or out loud?
Out loud, I think. All the time, he wished he had a ponytail. Some minors were rough. They like to
Very
make
busy able to get together. Normally you would read silently, but we didn't.
They dug for gold in the mountains. They panned for gold in the rivers. They weighed their gold nuggets on big peat scales. Tiny flakes of gold fell to the floor. The men only cared about the big nuggets of gold.
Pause. What is the main idea? So he kept his promise and he found gold.
Yeah, go ahead and finish reading.
The promise was. Chang kept his promise. How about you?
So now you're gonna stop and talk about a way to summarize that first part.
Well, I'm an ELL student, so I probably didn't understand half of what was going on, but I would have picked up some key words probably.
That's what's left.
So I'm thinking
Definitely got them there.
bag, gold,
I'm smart.
shovel.
Something about us.
Okay, so the pictures.
So you have a 5-minute building, just like they needed it.
The
I
ELL.
built that in.
So the miners were rough and Chang was polite. So you should be working on summarizing the first part.
So digging and panning.
So now we're writing a sentence. I know. Have you read on the second part yet? Maybe you should keep reading and maybe that'll reveal something.
They left early on a horse and they went to mine.
Maybe you should keep.
But did it say to mind, or was it just like?
Or implied, I guess. And they were digging in the dirt, I guess, would be a better way to say it maybe.
Yeah. Well, we know what they were digging for. They were digging for gold.
I
So that
discovered
should be
I'm a
in
good semicolon
Okay.
user. You should look, it's really cute.
Utilize the unicorn.
I am a good unicorn user. Okay, and so the last, I'm thinking that this part is gonna be important. How they ignored the gold flakes. And they probably wouldn't have mentioned that. So that's probably in detail, but something for us to keep in mind. So, how would we word that? Like the miners took
So they're
gold nuggets and gold flakes.
So the gold on the floor must have been.
Oh, I know, yeah.
No, we were talking about like whether you write under the cabin
Like whether
floor
the
or
sentence
you found gold in the
Oh, finding the gold's definitely important. We should know if it was too much of a detail.
No, you don't need to worry about the details. Just think about the main idea.
And then I was
of it.
saying, maybe it is important where they found.
Well, I think they piece cabinet
nuggets.
detail about what tools they were using. It's a really important
That was when
detail.
Shane got an idea.
Are we ready?
Well, you show me how to look for gold.
Okay.
Yeah. I need gold to buy a pony. Big Pete looked at Shane.
Big Pete showed Chang how to pan for gold in the river. He poured some earth into a pan, then he rocked and twisted it in the water.
Grandpa
The mud washed away. There were sand and pebbles, but not a speck of gold.
Shane gave a shout.
Chang worked hard. The sun grew hot. Sweat ran down his face and his hands got blistered. Go easy, partner, said Pete. The gold will not run away.
Held his breath and
Chang could not slow
finally,
down.
Grandpa nodded.
He wanted his
Just
pony.
this once, he said, maybe the fat god of luck will smile upon you.
I saw him painting for gold in the
Yeah.
What do you think is the main idea of that?
So how what are some of the main points of this
Because it goes all the way over to
part of the chapter?
They said that it was
So we started here.
pony.